Hi. Okay, we're continuing on our thought work because the thought work is the foundation to changing how we feel, changing our actions and our results, right? It's a whole process. So we were discussing cognitive distortions. If we stay in a certain thinking pattern, um, it's going to affect how we feel and it's going to affect our lives, right? So, this mental filtering is a biggie too. I highlighted that one because mental filtering is when we have a mindset or a thought process where we ignore positive things and we focus on the negative things, right? So, everybody does it to some degree. A lot of these things, most people, we all do at some point. When it really becomes an issue is when, what's the frequency of it, right? How long, how much do we do it, right? Just a one-off type of situation isn't one of concern because it won't necessarily make a huge impact on your thoughts, your emotions, and the results you get in your life. But it's when we continually do it and it's repetitive and then it builds, then it's going to cause a result in our lives, right? So when we look at when we filter situations and just there's a good thing, a good part of it, and then there's a negative part of it, and we just dismiss the good, the positive, and we just want to focus on the negative, which is common, right? Because, they say that going back years and years, when our primitive brain was formed, we were just concerned with protecting ourselves, right? And fear drove our behavior, right? Which would be focusing on the negative. So it is like a common, I don't want to say automatic, but you'll hear people do it a lot, right? So, and it's kind of like taking that conditioning and just being aware of it and shifting it, right? In little increments, shifting the thought process to say, yes, this could be a negative in this situation, but there's also these positives. Um, that's when once we can get to that groundwork there to say it's not all positive, it's not all negative, but there's like kind of a middle of the road and we just make little shifts, you'll see gradual changes in your outcomes, right? And it's fascinating when you talk to other people. I think it's fascinating anyway. When you talk to other people and they'll tell you whatever their story is or whatever the circumstances, and you go, well, it's good that blah, 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 like the good part of it. And they'll be like shocked. They're like, yeah, well, it's sure, but it's, this happened, like they get mad at you if you focus on what's positive because it's just like it's almost like a shock to the system that we would have a choice on how we're going to focus on things, right? We do have a choice whether we're aware of it or not, and the conditioning is huge. It's huge. People that are negative, like you can feel um, when someone's in like a negative mindset, like habitually, right? You can hear it when they talk. You could feel it, right? Because they're going to emanate, if they're thinking negatively, usually there's the negative thinking is going to create negative emotions, and the negative emotions have a vibrational frequency that you're going to feel yourself. You're going to feel it because they could get angry, um, guilt and shame and all the lower vibrational emotions. You're going to feel it, so when someone's in that negative mindset, and it's could be on autopilot, right? Most of the time it is. It's just autopilot, and that's their experience. That's how they live. And it's not their fault necessarily, right? It's just the conditioning and the way they perceive their experiences and the way they live their lives. And they haven't I would say they haven't come up upon a situation or circumstance in their life that was so, I don't want to say devastating, but kind of stopped them in their tracks and really, gave them a shock or an awareness that maybe I need to, look at myself, right? And maybe I need to reevaluate myself, my situation, my circumstances, right? Because wherever you go, there you are, right? It sounds silly, right? But you'll hear people say, like, as an example, you'll hear people say that they try to change their circumstances thinking they're going to have a different experience. The problem is you're in this experience and then you change your circumstance, you're in that circumstance now. It's still you with your same thought process, your same belief system, right? So unless the change in your circumstances changes what you think about yourself, right, then you could make some headway, right? But it's like people that, another example I guess that I could give is, and a lot of this work impacts like substance use and abuse because it's a lot of mindset work. It's all mindset, but people think, oh, if my son is, and I know people personally that, if my son is using drugs as an example, it's all the people around him that are making him do this. So I have to move him here so that he can't find these people, right? And he won't have that experience. But the truth of the situation is, if it's the individual, it's coming from within them, the hurt, the sorrow, the pain, the trauma, whatever it is, the hurting, whatever it is that caused the individual to be to such a point where, I mean, not all, but a lot, where it causes the individual to say, I can't feel like this anymore. I have to go, I need to get something outside of myself, consume it to make me feel better. When you can make yourself, and obviously once someone's in that process, they've made that decision and then they've, are in that addictive cycle, it's a very difficult cycle to break because the body has, responses obviously to the chemicals, and then it affects, the neural pathways in the brain. So it's not as easy to recover from it. It's possible, obviously, but it takes a lot more work to recover from it once the process has started, right? But the goal would be to hopefully intervene at some point prior to them even starting the process to teach and learn about our thoughts, our emotions, emotional regulation, what we can do when we feel a certain way other than going outside of ourselves. It's the same thing with eating, substance abuse, eating, anything where we feel powerless or we're feeling a certain way and we don't want to feel that way, so we go outside of ourselves to change how we feel. That pattern there, it's huge, obviously. I mean, it's so huge, and there are ways that we can heal ourselves and do the work ourselves. It's a lot of work, though. I mean, I can't tell you how many books and authors in 27 years, I have read a lot of spiritual books, all pretty much self-help books, a lot of spiritual books. That's where my fascination is in, the mind-body connection, the holistic, and then the spiritual connection to the divine, and our guidance on our path, right? And our journey, and how we make sense of what happens around us, and how we have the choice of how we're going to think and perceive what we're experiencing, right? it's big, and it can help so many people. Even the smallest of steps can cause a shift in perception and can lead an individual down a totally different path. And there's a lot of foundations to that. It's the thought work, huge, right? Obviously, because we're spending a lot of time talking about it. But the self-love too is big, to know that you are worthy and that you are divine and that you are perfect exactly as you are. And you don't have to prove yourself to anybody. The most important person is yourself, and whatever you believe that's bigger than yourself. And that you are being guided, and to seek out that connection and to seek out that guidance, and to know that you're worthy and that you're divine and you're loving and you're lovable exactly as you are. That's big too, because if you don't love yourself, or have just, even if it's not just, oh, I totally love myself, I'm the greatest thing, even if it's just the littlest nugget of I'm valuable, right? And I'm worthy. Maybe it's not reflected around me at this moment from individuals around me or circumstances. I just have this little teeny spark within me that knows that I have value, I have purpose, I am lovable, and I deserve to take care of myself and do what I have to do to take care of me. Just that littlest, teeniest little spark, it just means everything. And a lot of times we don't know it, might not feel it, might not see it, but and that's where we're kind of guided to go up. Go inward and go upward. Don't go out here looking for it. Go inward and go up, and connect to yourself within and your divine spark and your divine truth within. And then look up too, and look for that divine connection that will lead you and guide you, our intuition and our internal compass. And if we are connected, we can overcome pretty much anything, right? And our definition of overcoming might be different than a divine definition of it, but we do have to have that belief, that little spark of belief in ourselves and in our value and our worth and our being lovable and being loved. Maybe not by the people around us, but by the one who created us, is huge. So I don't want to not speak to that as well, because I'm staying, and our society is structured. I'm kind of rambling on I know, but I think it's very important. Our society is structured, and we're very cerebral, right? Our society is structured around the mind, what's logical, finances and business and logic and rules and laws and all that type of stuff, right? It's all like logic and reasoning. But the challenge is when the feeling is there, right, and the emotions are there. A lot of times, if we have thoughts that create our feelings, and then our feelings are overwhelming and overtaking the individual, the chemical response in the brain will cause the logic to go out the window. It's just a total emotional response. So the reason I'm saying that is because if we do this thought work and we identify these things and examine them and then shift them and change them, we can change how we feel and take control over how we feel, so that our emotions don't drive us. Not to say that there isn't value to, love and loving and being loved by someone else and loving someone else. That's all, obviously valuable and wonderful and divine. What we're saying is that you don't want to have your thoughts create emotions that overtake your actions and cause negative consequences for yourself in life, right? So I'll talk more on that in another video, because that's really, really important stuff. Okay, so I'll stop it there. So I hope you found this valuable. I wish everybody peace and love on your healing journey. I'll leave my contact information down below if you want to work with me. And please leave your comments. I'd love to hear them. We all have our different experiences, and I'd love to read and hear. And if you have any thoughts for future topics, discussions, questions, or anything, just leave them down below. Okay? Have a good day. Bye.